Hello, hello, welcome back to the GeForce SC2 Pro-Am presented by NVIDIA and casted by
Yeah, I'm Husky.
and Day 9. Yeah, high
That was
five.
nice and smooth there. Now the second game is going to be on Shakira's Plateau. Spawning down in the bottom left side, it is going to be IM's MVP. He is currently up 1-0 against his opponent, MMA. However, we did see a fairly back-and-forth game there. And Sean, I really got to hand to MVP. He lost so many Banshees in the early game. I would have just rage quit right then if I was playing Tan, but he was able to stay in the game, keep a clear head, and come back and win very convincingly. So on this map, it does look like they're going to be spawning close by air, but we'll see if those Banshees are going to play a huge role. It's going to be tough because for the Banshee to attack a different side, it's going to have to fly all the way around if it doesn't want to fly directly there.
Now, do you mind if I get all meta on you for a moment, Husky?
Let's get super meta right now.
All right, let's do this. The way that one would traditionally view an RTS game is in terms of resources. You know, all your units are little resources that you spend, and whenever you lose a unit without doing that much damage, that's essentially like taking some money, lighting it on fire, and throwing it into a busy highway,
It's
right?
true, yeah.
It's hard to get back. So, when we saw MVP lose all those Banshees, our gut instinct is to look at that and go, oh, he put himself in a terrible position. He's far behind. However, what we're seeing over time is that units in StarCraft 2 are actually so strong that oftentimes getting into a good position adds tremendous value to the rest of your units. And what we've been seeing so much in StarCraft 2 lately is players throwing away units to get better positions. Those Banshees may have died for nothing, but they pulled all the Vikings, all the Ravens, and many of the Hellions into positions on the map where they couldn't really actively stop MVP's push. And what swung the momentum into MVP's favor in that early game was the fact that he was able to waltz directly out of his base and knew that he would be engaging his opponent in the center of the map instead of worrying about some crazy counterattack or some sort of crunch right at his front door.
Yeah, and TvT positioning is so vital. Now, it does look like very similar builds, although it does look like MMA going to be transitioning into a fairly early command center. And, Sean, do you have any thoughts about this? Because Hellion's proven to be super annoying, but will he be in a good position throwing this down so early?
You know, I don't think there's anything ever wrong with doing an early expand on Shakira's Plateau. Just the fact that you have this closed-off entrance, you can do something like land a barracks here, build a supply depot and a bunker, and then voila, you are Hellion-proof at the front door, and all you have to do is worry about the back. And, you know, this is one thing, again, to note in terms of differences of styles. We see MMA cutting Marines to get his command center up a little earlier, cutting SCVs to get his refinery up a little earlier. Meanwhile, MVP, just straight and solid non-stop SCV production, delayed his command center by a little bit. And we see MVP really almost never cutting corners in his gameplay and getting a lot farther ahead without doing anything too fancy.
Yeah, a lot of the top players always prefer to play it safe, but if you take a risk, sometimes it can be absolutely worth it. Now, yeah, look at the units tab. They are identical. It's just the command center will be a little bit earlier. He did take a slight risk in getting it that early, but both these players right now, since they are going for an early expand, it's going to be tough for either player to actually knock out their opponent here in the next, I would say, 5 or 6 minutes, simply because they're not going to have that much stuff. You can see the production of the factory just going down for both players. There's really only one barracks for either player as well. They have done a little bit of Marine production. It looks like he's going to attempt to do it with good focus firing. Is it going to be enough? No, he is absolutely going to lose that battle. So MVP trying to do something cutesy, trying to march in there to delay that expansion, see exactly what's going on. He will come out behind in that engagement, but are these two Marines going to be playing a huge role in the near future? Most likely not, but at this point, he just wanted to get a feel of exactly what his opponent's doing, and since he probably saw the amount of Marines there, Sean, he has a pretty good idea of what's going on.
You know, I think that was very un-MVP-esque. We rarely ever see him just pop forward with a whole bunch of Marines and lose all of them. But, you know, that's one of those stepping stone moments that has to happen in practice. I mean, how are you going to know that the push will actually work unless you try it a bunch of times? But what we've seen from MVP in tournaments is none of those practice sessions right in front of your eyes. You know, in a tournament, MVP is very mistake-free, so I'm quite surprised to see that from him. Double Tech Lab actually going down. Not going to be going for the fastest Blue Flame Hellion known to man. This is some very odd floating we see over in MMA's base.
And we do have a starport for either player, going to be completing it around the same time. And in TvT, it's always very interesting to see how they transition out of this. If you go the 1-1-1 build, basically there's your so many choices that you can go. We're seeing the 2 tech labs. Is this for both players? It looks like it might be, and cloaking for one of them is on the way. That's going to be for MMA. He's also expanding again.
Wow.
A third early now would be a huge boost to his economy if he can actually manage to hold on to that, which it can be tough versus the threat of, there's always the threat of Banshees, the Blue Flame Hellions, and just basically units that are really good at killing SCVs and getting you completely out of position, kind of like we saw in the last game. So if he is able to do some damage with these harassment units, then I think MMA's risk that he's taking here may not pay off, but man, getting this expansion up would be huge if he can manage to do it in this mirror matchup.
Looks like Cloaked Banshee and Blue Flame Hellion incoming for MMA, and this reactor would indicate that MMA really wants to continue with lots of Hellion production. We see now that the Fast Viking is up for MVP, very common transition to get that very fast starport up. Third factory going down for MVP. Looks like we will be seeing mech out of MVP, likely mech out of MMA as well. And where did that Banshee go? Oh, there he is, sneaking along the south of the map.
Now, is the cloaking going to be done this time? He needs to be very careful not to have a repeat of last game, so dangerously skirting along that Viking. It looks like the cloaking will be done before she dies, but it has been spotted, and MVP is going to know exactly what's happening this game. And there it is. It finishes. Will force the cloak. It is going to start harassing these SCVs. A Raven immediately being produced as soon as that Viking was spotted, and the Raven won't be out in time to spot this. We will force a scan, which that's always a good situation where you can at least force a scan on these Banshees. Continued Banshee production. So are we going to see a repeat of last game where the original Banshees, while they may not do a lot of economic damage, do buy a lot of time and positioning? Or is he just going to get way behind here? We're about to find out as the second Banshee is going to be marching in here trying to force yet another scan.
And it looks like there's just enough to be able to plant a scan down that Raven now en route, and nothing but Hellions out for MVP. Oh no! Oh, the huge risk. It looks like it is going to completely backfire. There are just not enough units out right now for MMA. Oh no, this could be a devastating fast loss for MMA. And oh, they're lining up Husky, and oh my god, lands a gigantic blast on all those SCVs. Huge number of workers killed for both players, but MVP is slowly taking the lead.
And the fact of the matter is since he locked down this natural, that also means the third base will be locked down as well. Here comes one Banshee to try and do as much damage as possible. You can see focus firing the Hellions. Those are the ones that do the maximum amount of damage in this army composition, especially versus what he has, which is just Hellions of his own. Now, as Banshee trying to escape, but you can see with no air superiority, these units can just chase down the Banshee, and it will get taken out. The Raven's going to spot it right there, runs out of energy anyway, and then is going to clean that up. Now the natural is locked down. The third base, or what is now, I guess, just the second base for MMA, is up and running a little bit. I can see units mining there, but he may lose his command center. I think that he will. The Viking's going to be locking this down, so this is a huge loss. He is running down the Hellions right now, but he is finding a lot of MVPs. Hellions, is the position going to be good enough? I don't think it is. There's way too many MVP Hellions. He's now going to be slipping in the plane, or slipping in the main, rather, showing that he is really on top of his game.
Oh my god, he's slipping in the plane, and Hellions on a plane,
yeah,
Husky.
Dude, you cannot defeat that, and that's exactly what we're watching right here, Sean.
Even Samuel L. Jackson would be disappointed by this very moment we are seeing right now. The Hellions all get taken down, but not before doing some serious pain bringing on those workers. And we see now the Vikings are heading into the main, and if they land, what really can MMA do about it? He's going to have to bring all his SCVs forward. We see the Hellions trying to do some roasting action, but oh no, more Hellions from MVP end up swinging in, and now it looks like there's virtually no mining at all for Red Terran player Slayers MMA. In the main, we see a single Banshee now trying to do a little bit of damage, but that's MVP's trick. MVP is totally unimpressed.
Yeah, especially since that Banshee's attacking the factory. Now, our red player does have the hidden expansion, but at this point, he's lost so many workers that I don't even think it matters. Plus, he has no way of defending that. If it gets scouted and a couple Hellions, even one Hellion gets in there, then all those SCVs are going to be dead. The Banshee continuing to harass is up to 5 kills, so MMA slowly trying to claw his way back into this game. But, I mean, it's 57 supply to 81, and any time in a mirror matchup that there's that big of an advantage in supply, it can be very, very difficult to come back. It looks like the Banshee will be spotted once again by the Raven, and another Banshee saying, hey, what's going on, guys, is immediately taken out. Really no chance for that Banshee to do any sort of harassment. So not the most cost-effective harassment there, but he is going to attempt once again to break down the ramp. Is it going to be enough? This time it looks like it will be enough Hellions, but he is taking severe amounts of splash damage. and has finally cleaned us out. Those turrets just last an annoying amount of time, and may even lose a couple SCVs there to them. But now he is going to be ahead, being able to defend this. No severe losses there, Sean, but I mean, at this point, he's just lost so many workers, I don't know if he can come back.
Pick a number between 1 and 100.
I'm 36.
Ooh, very, very close. It's 44 with no prompt at all. Getting very, very close to a question that you had no idea what it was going to be about. Now we see the medevac swing along the south side, getting ready to do a little bit of unloading action. MMA is going to have to harass his way to victory. But ooh, this is again a troubling time. If Vikings land, it's going to be a big problem. And wow, auto turrets actually getting thrown down. A nice permanent way to reposition your opponent. You also see the drop now happening for MMA, and oh my god, what a huge hit for MMA. He managed to kill a giant pack of workers. Looked like 13 were killed in that shot, but oh, right back at you, says MVP. Blue Flame Hellions make this matchup so unstable and ridiculously fun to watch.
Oh! What are those SCVs doing? He's killing so many here, trying to even the score a little bit. He does pick those up. I don't know if that last shot actually did any damage because he picked it up right when it fired, but he is going to attempt to do it here. He is delaying mining heavily. Such a tense moment. He is going to get a couple more SCVs here. It looks like the workers killed 60 to 53. This is exactly what MMA needs to do to keep his mind and will basically physically stay in this game as well, but he has so little mining. Sean, can we look at the units tab? I'm just curious on how many workers there are overall. Just gonna look. Oh, you did have it open. It is 7 to 23. My goodness, that is a very low number for a 16-minute game.
And there are still auto turrets down in the main. You know, it makes you realize why those Ravens are becoming increasingly popular in this matchup. There are so many situations where you hit ultra low econ, and when it's almost no units versus almost no units, having that energy for free auto turrets makes such a big difference. You can keep the harassment up. And I mean, it's a very, very odd thing to have to deal with when you're pretty much just making Hellions for anti-ground, Vikings for anti-air, and then an auto turret plops down. MVP, though, very smart play, skipping over the tanks, going for that heavy armor, the Thor.
Yeah, we've seen time and time again that Thor is very good at absorbing the splash damage. So if your opponent doesn't have that many tanks, if you have a slightly less or equal number of Thors, you can easily march in there. He has so many more Hellions. I mean, right now, the fact of the matter is it's 107 supply to 34. I think the fact that he got out 3 Thors, I mean, I feel like he can win with just the Thors. It does look like harassment going to continue over here, but even if he kills every single worker at this expansion, is he going to be able to hold off this push that's coming right outside of his natural right now, as the Thors are going to be arriving. A lot of Hellions as well, so the only thing that can defeat this at this point is going to be a lot of siege tanks, but there's no way he's going to have it. Only 3 tanks. There is going to be the GG. MVP able to take this series to a quick 2-0 with phenomenal play so far. So right now, MMA obviously not going to be feeling that good, but I don't know, man. MVP looking so strong today.
Just completely dominating, and you know, again, it's that style that MVP has that's just so inspiring, that he's just building standard mixes, nothing fancy, just got a lot of Marines and Blue Flame Hellions, and even though MMA was doing a fancy cloaked Banshee with ultra fast Blue Flame harassing from every angle and taking the fastest third I think I've ever seen in this matchup, MVP just attacks at a really nice time, completely messes MMA up, and then has great management in game to take another win. And I can't emphasize enough how great those Thors were. The perfect unit.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, waited till just when he had enough money, got him up, and went for the kill, and kill he did, Dr. Husky.
He is a murderer. And look at this. He had 3 more Thors on the way. They were seconds away from being done. Not much you can do at that point. And I've seen in TvT before, late game, 8 or 9 Thors can take out a crazy amount of siege tanks, even if they're walking right into a siege line. So an absolute good read there. So Sean, it is 2-0 for MVP, so he very well could take this series 3-0, and I think that would be a pretty surprising result simply because both these players are so strong, and we've seen them in the past go toe-to-toe. So we'll see if MMA has what it takes in game number 3, and we will be right back and see you guys next time.
You're all very pretty.